Issue 1, the economy. Trick or treat. We have a credit crunch, we have a slumping economy, and we have inflationary pressures, particularly from energy prices. Can it get any worse?
It most certainly got quite a bit worse in the week or so since this program was recorded. It was a terrible week on the stock market. From my perch as an investment banker, what I'm seeing on Wall Street is a tremendous overreaction and almost panic about the subprime situation. Many of the large banks have announced very significant subprime losses, but they've announced them. They should be cooked into the numbers in the stock market at least, but there always seems to be, well, company A announces losses, so people are selling companies B, C, and D, even when companies B, C, and D have already announced their losses. The other thing is that the structural problems that we have in the economy are still here. We have a profligate Congress, which we now realize is only going to get worse once we have an all-democratic federal government. The dollar is in absolute free fall. Oil prices are in absolute uprise. I see no limit to how high oil prices can go. I originally said 13,000. That's where we are now.
What happens if there's a run on the dollar?
Well, for one thing, a falling dollar actually props up the American securities markets because American investment stocks and bonds begin to look more attractive to foreign investors. But there are other impacts too. Obviously, our imports look cheaper, so it helps our balance of trade. This is all a great interconnected macro economy. Is the collapsing dollar is propping up the stock market, except now, if you look over the past week, it hasn't been propping up the stock market.
Is the Citibank following in that wake?
This is exactly what I was just saying. These companies that have announced these subprime losses are getting it out. They're saying, Merrill Lynch has announced, Citigroup has announced, Wachovia has announced, other banks have announced, and they've said, this is it, and we're done, and this is the hit we're going to have to take. It's not good that these companies are having hits, but the idea that, well, this is the hit for today, and then there's going to be another hit tomorrow, and then the next quarter, and the next quarter, that's not the way it's working.
Who can tell me what Bernanke's quandary is? What's his quandary?
Bernanke's quandary is that he may run out of powder. He might get into what is called pushing on a string. You can only lower interest rates so much, which incidentally hurts the dollar, to try to pump in liquidity, but liquidity is ceasing to be the issue. Confidence in the subprime market is the issue, and no amount of liquidity in the markets is going to help that. The question is confidence in the system, and the Fed can't necessarily restore that confidence. Not that the Fed should be in the business of restoring confidence. It is not the business of the Fed, properly defined, to shore up financial markets or to bail out subprime lenders or investment banks. The purpose of the Federal Reserve is to maintain a stable money supply. I've blogged about this.
Exit question. Will the economy go into recession before next November's presidential election?
No, I don't think so. Recall that a recession is generally defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. We're not even at stagnant growth. We have economic growth. So before 2008, that's not much time to have a recession. The productive sectors of the economy still seem to be doing well, manufacturing, service, etc. It's really just the financial markets, which are not unimportant, but it's the financial markets for the time being where the chaos is. Wall Street versus Main Street is a long-standing dichotomy. Right now, the turbulence is in Wall Street, housing market. Whether that spills over to the rest of the economy, there's still not too much sign of that yet.
Bye-bye.